What's up, world? It's the NRW where nerds rule the world, back for another ShoPowSho. So, of course, it's the Babinka boy, the adult bro, the leader of the Holla Holla homies in the Center Gang, back again. Your boy Kuya P. My love to the Ates, the amazing Ates, doing their thing. I'm still working on getting them coming on with the regular schedule. But it's been crazy. But somebody else that is returning. He's been on quite a bit. We've shown him a lot of love because we love what he's doing. He's repping for the culture, and he's definitely doing it with this new project, the Ones and Twos. Because if you didn't know, Filipinos have been involved with DJing and music and dancing since the jump off. So let me just rep that real quick. And of course, I'm gonna bring him on the screen right now. The man who's doing it in this new comic book called The Ones and Twos with Kid Heroes production is my brother Kuya, the West Coast P, Patricio Ginelsa. You see him on the screen. I'm shooting off air horns right now, Patricio. It's all in post because we don't want to deafen each other. So, welcome back, brother. How are you?
Patrick, nice to be back, man. The East Coast Kuya P. What's up?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. So, Ones and Twos, dude, a little something different. Everybody knows it's been Lumpia this, Lumpia that with you. We know that's your baby, but this is also your baby in a lot of ways. I was seeing that this also started in filmmaking as well. We all know you as a filmmaker. You did a little short film called The Ones and Twos, and then you got with one of your DJ homies, and you're spinning this off into a comic book now. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about the OG Ones and Twos short film, the genesis of this project, and then working with Ed and working with everyone else to bring us the Ones and Twos?
Yeah, no, you're correct. It's so OG that we have that. You can't, even if you Googled it or go to YouTube, you can't even find that short film. We're proud of making it. It was something that definitely was a story. Obviously, growing up in Daly City in the West Coast, I grew up in that whole mobile DJ scene when it exploded, and obviously a lot of notable turntablists came from that scene. But there's a story I wanted to make, and I think this was probably the late 00s, like around 2007 or 8. I think we were fresh from. I was fresh from directing Bell at the Black Eyed Peas video, and then and we kind of used whatever momentum we had to kind of just get our funds together and create a short film, really a story within that scene. So it was supposed to be, taking place in the 90s and all that. But I think that short film didn't really live up to really what I kind of envisioned. I'm proud of it, but I think at that time we were still developing, trying to figure out like what is the story that we're trying to really lock down everything. And and I kind of just shelled it, and took a break from it. And then, of course, I got into Loopy with a Vengeance, and that's a story. Like, we took a break from it. And honestly, now that Loopy with a Vengeance led to the comic book scene, I think this comic book platform that we've been kind of playing, this new playground, kind of gave me a new platform to kind of rethink that story, the Ones and Twos. So we kind of got the team back together as we were kind of working on Lumpia, and the Ones and Twos. This is kind of like we've been working for this the last 2 years. I think we announced this right. We knew we were at San Diego Comic-Con with us. Like, we announced this project in comic book form then, and now 2 years later, we finally are pretty confident in the story that we have, and now I'm releasing it in public. Seeing if people will dig, and keeping that short film locked under key.
I love it. I love it. Well, I know people are going to want to see that. As a fan of film and a fan of getting the whole scope of picture and seeing how things change and as an evolution of ideas. I know the fans like myself are going to demand it. So maybe, you had the recent Blu-ray release of Lumpia with a Vengeance, maybe as a behind the scenes cut later on, eventually, with this,
like the deleted scenes, right? Like, kind of like
what I'm saying, just a fan request from fan. I'll speak for myself. So you adapted it into this comic book. We know October 5th is when it'll be available. You also have a variant cover at New York Comic-Con that's coming up very soon. Can we talk about how long the story is going to run? Is it like an ongoing series? It's a 4-issue limited series. What was that adaptation into the comic book form, and how long is that going to play out the intention of your entire story?
Yeah, it's very fluid right now, organic. I mean, I think for us, we just wanted to kind of create our pilot. And this obviously we definitely have a longer story that we want to tell, but I think for us it was important to kind of make sure that this first issue we treated it like a pilot episode to see it's like pilot season, right? Like putting it out there, seeing how many folks actually really gravitate towards the story, like the story, and do we continue on? It really depends on if there's demand for it. I think I can tell you that me and the team, the writer and my co-writer Edward Bond, we're very happy with the story. I mean, I think we're very confident with what we wrote and very happy with the art that Jeffrey Fulgencio put in. But as with Lumpia and with everything that we create, the Kid Heroes Productions, everything's we throw it back to the community, right? Everything's crowdfunded and everything. So in the end of this issue, there's definitely a call to action at the end of the last page where if you want to read more, follow this campaign. And I'm hoping that people like it enough that they'll at least follow our next crowdfunding campaign. Because obviously that's our bread and butter, right? We just crowdfund stuff and we make it. And not only does it mean that the project will happen, but it actually motivates us to put our best foot forward and really kind of take in the time and money. I mean, you know how this works, right? It's kind of like it makes us try to put our best work in and put the time and commitment, especially when this is just a part-time thing. But I think we've learned from Lumpia with a Vengeance that there are definitely people who are hungry about this. And I think for me, it's just a creative project just to really spotlight that another contribution that maybe not many people know outside of the hip hop community or outside of the West Coast or just in general. We think about Philippine American history of just other eras and periods, but I think it's important to kind of remember the history that's even as recent as what happened in the 90s. I think it's important to honor these contributions because even a lot of well-known DJs have come out from that era. And for me, I love the story. I think there's many stories to mine from that era. So we definitely have a long version story coming out. Whether I would love if given the choice and if the backers and the readers like it, have it a 4-issue. I think I have enough for 4 issues. I don't want to spoil what the storyline is, but there's definitely we're leading to it. But and I think the beauty of the comic book is that this sprouted from a short film. Obviously, we always already had kind of like a feature version of this, but it'd be nice to take the parts that people like about the comic book and hopefully adapt it to something else. So again, we're playing in this new field to see what kind of sticks. But in the end, I'm confident, Patrick. I mean, yeah. I think I really feel that that there's a community who's waiting for this kind of story. We just have to reach out to them.
Definitely. So again, a call to action, y'all. I'm reminding y'all, go cop the first issue of the 1s and 2s. As Patricio said, he's setting up the stage, he's setting up the world, setting up these characters. I had the pleasure of reading it, and you're going to want to take a look at this, man. And if you want this story, if you want this culture, this important history, especially for those of us that are Filipino and our representation in the hip hop genre space, go cop this, because I want to know this 4-issue story that Pat is going to tell y'all. And I'd love for it to be the stage of from short film to comic to feature. Let's make that happen, y'all. So go cop those books. Thank you for putting all that into that answer, Patricio, because you answered some of the additional questions I had within that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Hey, it makes my job easier. So I love that. So thank you for that. You've now been in this comic space. I've had the pleasure of working with you a little bit in this comic space now. How has that changed you as a creative, as a filmmaker? And has that deepened your adoration for now the comics world? I feel like just with what you just said, you're finding a place in comics world now. You're finding it as a stage to maybe, those stories that you're trying to pitch as a filmmaker. it's difficult, as we both know, as filmmakers, to make those pitches happen, but you can at least do it in a smaller way through comic art form to then get that groundswell of support to see, hey, oh, this kind of makes sense. And now, okay, well, let's take that into something. Because as we both know, we've seen Spider-Man and all these other indie properties that started in comics now make its way to feature and in film world. So that's a lot right there, but how has that changed you as a creative?
No, great question. I mean, we've experienced this together, right? We were at San Diego Comic-Con, and I think, I mean, I'm not actually deep in reflection, right? Because we're reaching this whole post-Olympiad of Vengeance phase, right? And things happened so quick in the last even 3 years that's happened, and so, but I love the comic book space. I mean, I come into this industry in different, wearing different hats, as a fan, a longtime fan, going to convention center. I'm just so used to just being a fan in general, right? And coming from the collector mindset and just really appreciating all the writers and the creatives that make up that space. But then to come in all of a sudden as a creative, as a creator with a film per se, and then coming to try to adapt some of my own ideas into it, it's addicting. I think. Well, number one, it doesn't take as long as making a movie, right? I mean, Olympiad of Vengeance itself took 10 years to make. And with the comic book, when we first launched the first issue, right, for Olympiad of Vengeance, that from kickstarting that to the actual making of and distributing the comic book, that only took 3 or 4 months, and so again, time-wise, it's great. Creatively, it's your imagination is just it's it's as like I don't have to worry. I don't have to put my producer's hat and think about, oh shoot, I can't afford that in live action form, right? So it feels limitless in terms of, as a creative, what you can put on paper. It's just it's almost just the size of what you can dream of, and so we've been blessed to do that, to expand the movie storyline into now the DFU and the Deep Fried Universe, and it gives me a chance to. But for me, I think what I love doing more than anything, and it doesn't matter if it's a filmmaker or as a comic book writer, is really collaborating with people and spotlighting other things that I like honoring folks and the people before me, and even working with folks that I've been dream to work with. I mean, like Will Spataccio, Bobby Rubio, Patrick Strange, these and I I'm not kidding, because these are like folks in all spectrums. You were part of this comic book industry, and to kind of pick knowledge and try to learn from that, it's beautiful. And so now I've been doing comic conventions now for 3-4 years. I can't even believe it's been 3-4 years now, just traveling to different comic cons, and we definitely came off San Diego Comic Con again this year and go to New York Comic Con next month. It feels like a blessing. I feel like I'm part of a new form of family. And the beautiful part is that there's other folks coming in too. I feel that the other Filipino creatives, and it's just, it feels, I don't even know what the word is, but it feels very, it feels refreshing, I think, is the thing. I mean, coming off a movie, it's very hard, stressful, and the movie itself was already hard, dealing with distribution, who's going to pick it up, and even post distribution, the money and debt. I mean, there's a lot of headaches, politics. It's not to say comic books is not, it's similar in a way, but I think being in this new industry is refreshing, because I am learning things and then finding my own place. Like, where do I fit and how can I grow from this without, being respectful to everyone in that space. I think it's more important for me to be authentic in this space,
Dope.
I think that answers.
Definitely dope. Again, thank you for the nod, man. I appreciate that. To be included with greats, like you mentioned, shout out to our boy Bobby Rubio and Will Spataccio, legends. I'm honored by that. So speaking of collaborators, let's talk about your team, man. Friends of ours, definitely friends of yours, of new friends that I gained through you, Jeffrey Fulgencio, Ed Bayonne, some of the other cats involved with this. Can you talk about working with them as you started? You highlighted this, at San Diego about 2 years ago, and now you got the team together. We got the book dropping and available now. Tell me about just getting in touch with those guys, laying down the scripts, and working with Jeffrey to put this together.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey obviously was one of our Lumpia bullpen. And he was the first I approached, because I felt his art style probably fit with what I was looking for I was envisioning for the ones and twos. And even before we unveiled it, I mean, he was great. I mean, all these characters you see behind me, like even trying to figure out who it was, what they look like, what is the makeup of this, what is the style. So Jeffrey designed a lot of these things. Uh, Edward Bayon, Tyrone, as we know from Lumpia. I mean, we grew up together, but he also is a mobile DJ. He was in this scene. He had his own mobile crew. And so he came on. I recruited him to really kind of be my consultant. But in a way, because we were working together, we kind of cracked the story together. And then he would provide all the details, like, what the turntables look like, what the speakers like. It was very minute, because I think that's the one thing that we didn't do so well in the short film, was that it's supposed to be 1990s, but things were like from OOs, and like everything was just didn't feel right, or visually right. But no, I think once we got that team together, we're doing this part time because Lumpia that itself, the movie, the comic book, was going fast and furious, but the ones and twos was this slow nurturing thing that we were kind of boiling, in the kitchen while all this stuff was happening. So I mean, we were pushing out 3-4 comic books a year, yet in the background I've always had the ones and twos as kind of like my getaway from Lumpia, and we were still trying to figure out, like, what are we doing with this, like trying to research other hip hop comics and trying to figure out how they did it and what the style was, to the logo design that my homeboy Eli Manawat, who was really good in graffiti work, like doing that. So I think it was fun just assembling like a different team of folks in my circle that also part of Lumpia, and just, I don't know. I think I think it feels cool when you try to find different parts of people, and people don't necessarily have that comic book background. I was not a writer, but I think because we've all experienced Comic Con together, we've all inspired that, okay, the sky's the limit in terms of what kind of comics. Let's try it out. And I think that's the beauty with this team here. So we have Ed writing, consulting. Actually, no, I'm writing, and he's cracking the story and consulting with me, and also reworking my dialogue, because he's better at the 90s lingo than I am. And then we have Jeffrey, of course, doing the art. And then we have David Frezzo. He was my original collaborator, original DJ, part of Three Style Attractions, that actually helped me with the first short film. So I think with all that together, that was kind of like our core team. And then of course, the mission wasn't just to crack a story, but it was also to try to figure out, okay, how can we spotlight this? And so we felt like, okay, with variants and stuff, let's celebrate the DJ icons that came out from the scene. So, I think I see on your screen you have Shortcut, Jonathan. I mean, he's prayers to him. He's still recovering from a serious stroke that he went through. And so Jonathan Shortcut was one of the first who came on during the Kickstarter to kind of help us out with that. And then we do have other things that planning for the rest of them. So it's fun thinking now of like, where do we take ones and twos, because it feels like again, the same mission as Lumpia, right? To kind of spotlight not only a different part of our history, but also spotlight some of the real world celebrities. Even though this crew, right, the crew here is called Extremes. Our fictional mobile DJ crew is called Extremes. So even though it's fictional, it's actually based on different people that we knew growing up in that scene. So I'm sure people are going to read this and like, yo, that reminds me of this. And it's happening already. Even when we're posting this video, people are like, they're tagging people, yo, Patrick, this looks like you, man. Or like, hey, John, that looks like you, or whatever, like. So I don't know. It's cool when people do see something about them or their friends in this, because that's the whole point, right? Representation.
Definitely people find that connection, and salute to Shortcut right here, my
Yes.
man. Get well.
Yes.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And I know from Creative, you and I are both creatives, to shift that out of a certain mode when you're like locked in. You were locked in on the Lumpia mode, to do something different, have as a side pet project to kind of cleanse, if you will, not just, even though you're still Lumpia, but just to help just kind of reset a little bit and kind of refocus, that kind of, it helps, because when you get locked in too much, you get blinded in a way when you're like set in one fashion, right? So dope. One of the things I really dug, and if maybe you can fill me in on this, because I didn't, I read the book this recording, before we got started today. But what I thought was super dope, and I'm ready once we get done with this to take my phone and scan these QR codes that appear throughout.
Oh my God, I forgot to mention that. Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Tell me what that is, what it leads us to, and how did that all come together?
Yes. So the biggest question is, it's definitely a DJ music oriented, comic book, but like, how do you visualize something that's usually something you hear, right? Because that era, you hear music, it takes you immediately to that era. It's the easiest way, right? You hear a song, oh yeah, 90s, right? Especially if you grew up in that scene, there's certain songs. So like, with Lumpia, I always wondered, like, same thing with Lumpia, with Avengers. Like every time we screened the movie, oh, it'd be great if we had Lumpia there, or like, so, if you read the comic, can you taste Lumpia or smell Lumpia? Like it doesn't really fulfill the full experience. So of course, like, how do you do that in a comic book form when it comes to the ones and twos? And so the solution was, okay, and we thought of different strategies to do that, but I think what we settled on, without having get caught by the copyright and all that stuff, was, okay, if you scan on this QR code, it's going to take you to a link that will, and I don't want to spoil it, but provide that soundtrack for that scene. And when and those QR codes are fine. It's and I actually just completed that last week because we're preparing, but we had the bootleg version that we released for San Diego Comic-Con, which was kind of like our ashcan version. So it was non-colored. It was still in, the story was there, but the QR codes were still there. But if you clicked on it, it was very raw. It still took you to the music, what we wanted. But now if you click on it, it does kind of give you more context with basically it'll lead to the soundtrack of that page. So there are different QR codes that we place within that comic book, and again, I think it's one of our creative ways to kind of really, hopefully you click on it, and when you play that QR code, as you're reading it, it will take you back, or at least for those, bring you back to how it was growing up in that era. And for those who are younger, get a sense of like how it was to grow up in the West Coast as a high school student, and then what was playing on the radio or those parties, so that and the music curator is Charlie Darker, a good friend of ours, and we went back and forth with a lot of the music stuff, but that in itself was a chore itself, because it wasn't just choosing the music, but also getting to the minds of each of those characters, because even each of these characters in the extremes have different levels of skills. So it's like trying to and it's weird, like I feel like I am kind of directing in a way, but that itself, the music curating, became a very challenge in itself, because I thought we were just going to link it to like just music, you can just the actual music, but we found it pretty early, like it needed the scratching, it needed all that stuff, so we were blessed that Charlie Darker, he, as talented he is, was really to kind of become each of these characters DJ, and their skill set.
Yo, shout out to Charlie Darker, shout out to you and the whole team. I really, once I saw that, I was like, I cannot wait to scan this. I'm like, let me find out my man Pat is giving an outside of just this book form, because I'm seeing this, so like you kind of put two and two. Oh, is this gonna give me music? Assuming so I came up with assumptions. So I just love that idea that it became more of a multimedia experience. So props to Charlie Darker, shout out to you and the whole team. I can't wait to scan that code later and peep that. That's pretty fresh. That's pretty fly.
I don't know if other comics have. I'm sure other folks have played with this. But I think for us was trying to. I don't know.
I think you don't expect that from an indie comic book. So like, okay. I've been reading comics, and I've been in comics a long time. You don't see that at least on the indie side. Maybe Marvel, DC played with it, but the fact that it's in this, and as a Filipino, I
Yeah.
know it's gonna be us. That
Yeah,
just
yeah.
makes it wholly just something dope. I love that,
Well, I
man.
will say this: anyone who does take the time to actually scan that will be treated, because it's not just a regular link that goes to somewhere that's just re-linked to someone's page. I actually really, but I did a lot of the work. Like I did, uh, me myself doing a lot of the post production. I took the time to really take it to the next level. So folks who did scan it early on during the summer for the Ashcan version, if they rescan it again, they'll be treated something way more different than they did a couple months ago.
Dope. So if you've already done it, tune back in, check out what Pat
Yeah,
delivered for y'all. That's
yeah.
again super fresh, brother. In regards to some of the characters, you talked about the characters a little bit.
Mhm.
One of the things I noted, we have this young female who's sitting right here. She's kind of like the filmmaker on the team. It kind of made me think, was that Pat? You know, because I know Ed's basing this. You know, he was DJ E Swift and some of your other friends. What was Pat back in the scene as the writer? I was like, did Pat kind of do a flex, do a gender change to
Ginger
like,
change.
was Pat filming? Was because you're a filmmaker, you know, I knew you're back
Yeah, you
then.
know,
Was he a
yeah, no,
filmmaker in this DJ scene? You know?
no. So yeah, so I always share the story how when I grew up, I mean, obviously the jocks in high school, we were the most popular kid in our high school growing up wasn't really necessarily the jock, it was the DJ, right? Because they got you to the parties. They were the ones that they were most popular because if you knew them, you could get into the parties. And then if you're Filipino, it seemed like everyone was getting into that scene. But I remember my first girlfriend was like saying, "Hey, be cool. I should meet you, my friends, join their crew. That learn how to DJ." It's almost like felt like in order for me to stay with this girl, I had to become a DJ in order to gain a little bit more social whatever, like get a little more clout. But I did it. I chose the. I ended up getting into filmmaking because no one was doing it at the time. And I joke about if that was happening today, I probably wouldn't become a filmmaker because everyone's a filmmaker now with their phones. So I'd probably do something else. I don't know, take violin lessons. I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
Bucking the trend, but you weren't filming the DJs back then.
I did
Okay.
because I was a lot of my friends happened to be DJ, but not at the parties. I was not
Okay.
as cool as getting in there. So Charmaine, Charm over here, DJ Charm, this character is kind of like a combination of like a lot of my creativeness. I was not a skateboarder, so that we added that element. Plus she's a kind of a tech nerd, and that's kind of like my brother, So there's no question that the mobile DJ scene was a guy's world, a man's world, right? It was dominated by men. But I think what we're trying to do with Charm is that there were definitely females in the game. There were definitely females
Exactly.
who were doing it. And I think we're trying to, in this fictional group of the DJ, we're trying to tell a different story with Charm. I'm sorry to see if people want to hear that, but yeah, it is kind of like a little bit of me and a little bit of different folks that we know. She does kind of like become the documenter of the scene, and it's funny because I do talk to a lot of DJs who didn't have a camera and they wish that they had camcorder footage and stuff like that because the folks that did have camera tend to have the ones that dominate that scene, but I think I remember this is a time pre-social media and people had phones. So, if things don't get recorded that way, does that history even exist? I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard, people want to document that scene because when you live it, you don't realize how rare it is, Um, I'm trying to get deep into this, but when we're growing up, we look back at the 50s and stuff and the road of cruising and all this stuff and the world of Greece and Happy Days, and you feel like, oh man, that's so long ago. And that was like 30, 40 years ago back when I was younger. And then now, 40 years later, it's almost like the 90s. That scene is our 50s now. Like today's generation is like, and you see it in social media with the VHS filter and everything, So it's like that for them, it feels like it's time now to mind those stories, I feel. So anyway, we being a documenter, being that person, we almost is seeing it kind of through her eyes, right? Um yeah, no, I could go deep into this whole documented camcorder. I just celebrated my 30th year high school reunion, right? And I was the person that documented that whole senior year. And so to this day, we still have video that we're showcasing a lot of the video I captured in high school. And that's people's only memory of that. And it's so weird to relive that. And it's like, I just happened to capture that, right? It's a very powerful thing of recording things, because you feel that, kind of like even our own histories. Like I wished my dad or my mom growing up in the Philippines had a camera. Like I love to see how that era was, and so I think that's why we're so into representation and everything, because I feel that, especially with the mobile DJ scene, this project itself started because a bunch of my friends were approached me and said, "Hey Pat, and they all came from the mobile DJ scene. Like, you want to do a documentary? We want to kind of remember this and kind of and I told them straight up that I'm not a documentary filmmaker. I'm not that's not my jam. But I'll try to do a short film. So that was really the genesis of the original short film, was to try to tell that scene story, but not necessarily document it in like nonfiction format. So
Yeah, no worries. I think as we all know, there's like that saying nowadays, when you see it you can achieve it. And yeah, man, I think that, and I believe in that wholeheartedly, what you're saying, and that coverage. It's
yeah, on one character. I mean, I know
yeah,
it's weird. I never thought
yeah,
about Charm, but I think that's the genesis of Charm's DJ Charm's character. It's very important. So
definitely.
this is based on Ed right here. Oh wait, hold on, right there. This
Yeah,
guy,
yeah,
B Money is Ed.
I dig that. But I love that Charm is in there because, as you said, yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of amazing Bay Area female rappers, DJs that came up in the game too. But again, it wasn't all documented and everything, so that just have that little bit of representation there is super dope. And
Yep.
yeah, it just had me thinking as a filmmaker, and me knowing you're a filmmaker, and your interplay with all of this and based on Friends. I was like, is that Pat in there? But I dig that, dig all that.
I think the
Um,
glasses I did. I mean, if she had braces or retainer, maybe I'll add a
yeah.
story. Then that would be totally me if she was wearing a
And I
retainer.
love the name Charm because we all know some charms. Shout out to all the
Yeah.
girls out there. We know some charms.
I know a lot of Charmaines. I mean, I think that's the one
Yes.
name that everyone tend to have. So, and any
Awesome.
Lynn's. It's funny, Lynn's, anything with the Lynn was like Sherilyn, Joralyn, Gemalyn, like all the Lynn's always came up in her growing up.
Definitely.
Shout out
So
to all the Lynn's. Shout out to all the
shout out
Lynn's.
to all the Lens. Super dope, man. I think we took it all the way through, but we're still gonna play this record, y'all. We want to let y'all know that Ones and Twos is gonna be available. Brand new cover as of this recording will be debuted at New York Comic Con. But let's just
Oh, that's right.
tell them
Oh, that's
again,
right. That's right.
P, how they can check it out, support. All the links will be in the description below, but also maybe some highlights of anything else coming along with it before we get up out of here.
Yeah, so the thing we announced will be a New York Comic Con exclusive. We'll be celebrating the fifth platoon. DJ Neil Armstrong, Rolly Rowe, and DJ Cunny Candy, they all came from that group. So there'll be a special cover with them drawn by Jet Labrador over New York. So we'll be there. We definitely have a pop-up a mixer that Thursday night, October 17th. Where you can meet myself, also Neil Armstrong, and just a lot of other creatives like Quinter Comics and Bayani. Mark Teodosia will be there with TCNY. So we'll definitely have a presence at New York Comic Con, and the Ones and Twos special cover will be celebrating the Fifth Platoon. And if you don't know who the Fifth Platoon is, you got to Google them. They're really big on the scene. And DJ Neil Armstrong is the DJ that came out of that crew, end up being Jay-Z's tour DJ. So yeah, so props out to the Fifth Platoon and for allowing us to showcase them. All the covers, including the shortcut ones. The shortcut is actually a backer exclusive. We may have an exclusive link to that down the line, but you can pre-order your print or digital copy, the print copy on kdeers.net, and the digital copy on globalcomics.com.
There you go. Links in the description, y'all. Go show love. Go show support. If you're at New York Comic-Con, say what up to my man P, my man Bayani, all the squad over there, man. Quento, know those cats. Mad love. I can't let you out with one last final question because I know everybody's gonna be asking me why I didn't ask it, because I know it's also been lingering in my brain since the last time we left out the panel at San Diego Comic-Con. We saw this come up.
Yes, the famous three.
What's the deal? What's the latest that you can say?
I'm unfortunately it's demand, right? I think we have not even publicly even put that or post that anywhere, but every time we do a panel or Comic-Con, we have it there. And there's actually a link on Kickstarter. We've been collecting folks who want to see the third Lumpia film. It's definitely in our heads. The problem is that, look, Lumpia 3 would have come out much quicker if Lumpia the Vengeance did well on streaming and platforms and stuff like that. It hasn't been that way. The studios aren't rushing over to us saying, "Hey, let's get that Lumpia 3 funded." You did so much well. So it is definitely just like the 1s and 2s. It's becoming one of those slow roasted kind of projects. And we want to do it right. I don't want to rush it, right? The comic books we are still, to be honest, really just trying to build the audience more, so it does make a third movie worthy, and I think, and not to say that people are discovering it every day. There's someone out there who probably goes to Amazon Prime or Apple TV and somehow watches it. So I'm hoping that people enjoy it, and it just keeps going. When we announce our plans for Lumpia 3, I'm hoping it hits hard. We're not there yet, Patrick. So, but there's definitely people who want to know it. And as of now, and I announced that actually at Comic-Con this year that I did start writing page 1 and the first 3 pages of Lumpia 3. So that's the update I have.
Okay.
And I do have a title already in mind, and Lumpia 3. So it is being developed, if I could say. So that's the news I have. That's the short reel. But I always, again, I'll throw it back to you and the other folks who are asking, waiting. Is that okay? Well, have you gotten more of your friends to watch it? Have you shared the Blu-ray, or have you shared the link? Tell them about it, or so it all goes back to them, and that's the demand will allow this movie to happen faster. And if not, we'll figure out a way to get it done.
Definitely. Nah. All I know is you haven't asked me to be a part of it yet. So if it's going to take a slow roll for you to finally ask me, then I'll take the slow roll. But I'm as a fan and as a friend, I'm excited. And I'd rather you marinate.
Oh, but tell me, it does come out. If it gets green light, Patrick, it's almost like that call or that text that it's going to happen. So you'll be the first. I'm telling you.
I can't wait, brother.
Well, I'd say positive. I'm always saying.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
We're still going. We're still
definitely.
Going. Yeah.
Definitely. Everybody support my man Patricio Ginelsa, the 1s and 2s, and of course Lumpia with a Vengeance, everything. Legendary Lumpia Squad, Kid Heroes, Gemini. Show love to all of that, so that way we can make the 4-issue 1s and 2s that P has in his head. We can make Lumpia 3. We can make all these things happen. Let's just support it for the culture. Patrick, man, Patricio, always a pleasure, brother.
Thank you, Patrick.
Wishing you nothing but the best. And of course, I'm supporting over here on the East Coast. Hold it down over on the West, and we'll keep on showing love. Always a dope conversation, my man. All right.
Peace. Thanks,
my
everyone.
man Patricio Ginelsa, your boy Kuya P. Nerds rule the world. As we say at the end, mahal kita, salamat. All right, brother. There's a cut. hit record, pin myself, and then I'll unpin. You'll be on, and then we'll be getting into it. All right. There's what I need. Okay. All right, here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.